I call this meeting to order of the Lincoln County Board of Education, meeting in regular session on Tuesday, March 4th at 6 p.m., and we are at the county office. This meeting is being live streamed, and a video copy of the meeting will be on the board's website within 5 working days. Before we get started this morning, I intended to do this last week, and of course I was not here. And I just want to call attention to a gentleman that worked in the school system for years and years. Was a tremendous educator, and that was Dave Lucas, who used to be principal at Harts once upon a time. Dave unfortunately died a week or so ago, and he was not only a colleague, he was a close friend, and he made a tremendous impact on people who are now grown up in that community. And I just wanted to acknowledge his passing. And also, I would like for you all to join me in a moment of silence, if we could, for one of our friends and colleagues who's undergoing some serious medical issues, and that's former board member Dana Snyder. So if you'd join me for just a moment. All right, thank you. This time, I'm going to ask Bucci Burns to lead us in the Pledge of Allegiance.
I'll be glad to. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
I'm sorry, can you hear that?
Yeah.
I had it on silent, but I apologize for that. I'm assuming we have no public comment. At this time, I'm going to turn the meeting over to Mr. Barnett, and he has a report and as a guest.
All right. Well, during the instruction leadership portion of the agenda this evening, we'd like to talk about our second round of iReady scores. Pretty excited by it, considering these tests were taken during all the weather debacle. So we've shown some pretty good growth, and I'm going to ask Ms. Shortridge to share that with you too. She's broken that down to where she's knows it in her sleep.
Yeah, I say it's like the stock market. You know, I watch it all the time. No, we have some good news to report. We've put, like you guys are aware, a lot of our focus has been on the science of reading and our interventions. I think we're already seeing some results of the teachers' hard work and the principals' hard work. We grew from 19% from the first benchmark to 35%, meaning students are at or above grade level in the county K through 8. That is a 5% growth compared to last year at this first benchmark. We didn't even grow 5% total in the year compared to the previous year last year. So we're seeing the growth. We also, you want to go left. If you look at that chart, the red means 3 grade levels below or more with the kind of like the shading. Then when it's just red, it's 3 grade levels. Yellow means those are like your bubble kids. So those are kids that could potentially still score on grade level. So we've pushed that over. So what we're doing is we're pushing kids. We've pushed 261 kids essentially to the left in reading, meaning we've got them out of one domain and into the next. And if you look the breakdown, it kind of tells you there's 76 less kids 3 grade levels below or more based on the beginning of the year, 75 less kids 3 grade levels below, and 110 less kids 1 grade level below. So we've moved them to actually on grade level. So it's pretty impressive when you think about it. we have implemented, the Ashlock instructional strategies K through 5, as well as the corrective reading program for all special education students K through 8. When we screened those students, we were a little disappointed, honestly, in the reading levels. We had a lot of students that were beginning readers. And so when you look at the breakdown by school, I also ran what you call a subgroup report. You don't have that, but we talked to principals about it when we did our data dives. And Midway, for example, their special ed subgroup, 50% of fourth grade is reading on grade level now. They started the year not on grade level. Fifth grade at Midway, 38% of special education students are reading on grade level. And then we just have continued to see extensive growth. West Hamlin's grown 23% as a school. Midway grew 24%. Harts grew 21%. So we're seeing some really positive things, because if you think about it, we were out of school, like Mr. Barnett said, for approximately really a month. We didn't have instruction, and that's when that benchmark falls. So, I mean, that's pretty successful as far as I'm concerned. If you turn the page, it has the math window. That's becoming our focus more, because, you can't do math if you can't read. So I'm going to talk a little bit about kind of our plan for math going forward. But if you look, we grew from 9% to 22%, which is a 2% growth compared to last year. We've moved, there's 72 less kids in the 3 grade levels below or more, 94 less in 2, 46 less in 1, which is a total of 212 students that we've moved based on your bar graph from right to left. And it's broken down by school for you as well. The good news is we've grown regardless, but we've not seen as significant of kind of a growth in math. And we're aware that, when you put all your eggs in one basket, so to speak, where we focused on reading, now we've got to bump it up for math as well. So we are aware of that. Do you have any questions about the data before I talk a little bit about kind of what we're doing?
Just a question here, Joni, on the math.
Mm-hmm.
Maybe the most encouraging thing I've seen in a while is that we're looking at 66% of our kids at or no more than 1 grade level behind in math.
Mm-hmm.
Here at the midpoint in the year.
Mm-hmm.
It's quite possible that all those kids can be on grade level. If we're very optimistic, that's 66%. That's fantastic.
Well, and when you think about it too, you're talking about math and reading. When you have 50% of a school reading and doing math on grade level, that's above the state average.
Yeah.
So compared to where we were last year, if you remember, to now, I mean, the teachers, the work they've been putting in with this and the buy-in with the Ashlock, and now that they're seeing the growth, like I've had very exciting conversations, because I'm over testing too, so some teachers will call about a testing question and we end up talking about how great their data looks and they're excited. So, and when kids see that, that's encouraging, especially in the special education subgroup, because you've got to remember those kids' scores count too. And, they deserve just as much differentiation and intervention. And that was something we were lacking as well in our schedules, was really bumping up that, personalized learning. So not only do they get it in the special ed classroom, they get it with all the other students in an intervention group as well.
That reteaching period, I don't know what you all call that, intervention or?
We call it WIN, what I need.
Okay. Has that had much of an effect on kids, these scores improving?
I believe so, because we just did what we do the iReady, and then we also do what's called a phonics survey. So every student's pulled, and if you look at your domains specifically for reading on the first page, phonological awareness, phonics, And that's kind of tied to what the state's initiative is for science of reading. I have a handout, but basically, when we screen every student, Ms. Lucas, Ms. Dunlap, and then the schools. So the schools have been taught interventionists, teachers. They screen their students, and then we redistribute those students based on their skills to different intervention groups. And what we've seen is every kid's moved. That's not what we've seen in the past. So they're moving from one skill, and it might make more sense if you have this handout. They move from one skill to the next. So we start with, for example, like print concepts, phonological awareness, and this is all from the State Department. But this is what the Ashlock program kind of does. And then we move on to actual words, word recognition, and then fluency, and then multisyllabic words, and what have you. So that's what we're seeing is we're now bumping up more students with, to where now they're reading to learn and not learning to read. And so we just purchased Newsela, which is a direct correlation with our textbook because it has that comprehension feature, because we have so many students now ready to actually read and understand what they've read instead of just learning to read, if that makes sense. And so this is kind of like what we would look for as a county team when we do a walkthrough in a K through 3, K through 5 classroom. And that's specifically what you're seeing on iReady. But when you look at the domains, they look very similar. And so that's what the program is focused on, is the print, print concepts, phonological awareness, phonics, and then you keep moving them on and on.
Unless I'm reading this wrong, this just gives an overall school score, not broken out by grade.
Correct.
My curiosity is, I would expect that those kids in the 4th, 5th, and 6th grades would be scoring lower than those kids in the 1st, 2nd, and 3rd grades, because the younger kids are getting intervention earlier.
Well, and we looked at that. I have it by school, but if you want to take a look, but we saw significant growth. So some schools, we had 0 kids in red in kindergarten. So there's less and less deficits that we're now seeing with this. And so when we looked K through 2 data, trended at least 60%. Compared to when they get to 3rd, 4th, and 5th, which is that comprehension piece. And remember, we just started our interventions this year for 4th and 5th grade and special ed. So we're not there yet.
So we can safely say that kids in the earlier grades are demonstrating more on level than kids in the older grades.
Correct.
Okay. That goes, I think, to prove to what we've been talking about, the early intervention and not letting them get so far behind. WIN, is that what you said, the WIN program?
Yes.
Mr. Barnett and you and the whole staff and principals, they deserve a great deal of attaboys for
Yep.
buying into this program and staying focused. I would caution that staying focused is the most difficult task that you have. After you show some improvement, you kind of let down, and I don't say you, I mean people in general, you just kind of let down and take a breath, and next thing you know, you're right back to where you started.
Right.
It takes really a lot of diligence to stay focused and on task.
And first of all, Ms. Lucas and Ms. Dunlap have really taken the lead with this as far as being out in the schools and making sure it's fidelity, it's followed through, and principals too. But the ECATs, the aides, have played a significant role as well, special education aides and the teachers, because most ECATs have their own group when it comes to WIN, to make those groups smaller, because that's what research says. So everyone is, all hands on deck is helping with these students.
This is the first year for the age in 1, 2, and 3, correct?
1 and 2.
1 and
3
1 and
next
2.
year.
2,
Next
yeah.
year's 3.
Yep.
Yeah.
Okay. Well, I'm sure the state will be asking, the legislature will be asking for some data on whether that program was effective or not, and obviously it is. So, I
Yeah.
congratulate you, thank you.
Well, it's not me, it's all
Well,
the good people
Well,
working.
yes, it is you. It's not entirely you, but you're the one that's spearheading the thing. And you and Mr. Barnett and principals and everybody that touches it.
Well, and I just wanted to touch on some things that we've started this year too. One thing is what we've called data dives, and that is, we're drilling down into the school's data. So like you were talking about, based on classrooms, based on grade levels, we had great conversation. We just met with them. We did an hour per school. Principals came over here, the team was there, so anyone, like they may have a special ed question, Mr. Miller was there ready to answer. And we looked at attendance, we looked at behavior, and what we've identified as certain, maybe classrooms that aren't exactly where we want to see instructionally or data-wise. There's also a correlation with classroom management, so we had good conversations. I've already scheduled PD for the summer for that, based on the state's recommendation of kind of who to use. And so we were able to get a really good picture of each school's individual needs and how to move them. And then we also kind of realized with math that we've got to do something different. So we have a PD scheduled for the end of the month. It's a 2-day, and we're bringing teachers over here, and we're basing it based on the habits of mind, which is the mathematical practices through science of numeracy. The book is pretty, it's, I don't know, 60, 80 pages. So I did a QR code if you want to take a look online. But I broke down there's 8 actual habits of mind when you think about math instruction. Because when you want to talk about intervention for mathematics, it looks different. It should be more scaffolded instead of like the win time. And so we're basing our PD based on habit 1, which correlates with concrete objects or manipulatives. Because when we go in the classroom, what we're seeing a lot of is direct instruction with students. And so we want to change that a little, the design of the math classroom, and that's our first step. So that's the PD scheduled, it's K through 8 is the initiative, and this is kind of the basis of the science of numeracy. So I wanted to just talk on that for just a second.
And I'm gonna give, Ms. Shortridge attaboys because she never stops. And, it's, that's been our message from the get-go is you can't let off the gas. We've got to keep it going, and I'll give her kudos for that because she's in their crawl. She thinks they're slowing down a little bit, and that's what we need.
But, we're hopefully headed in the right direction. I'm meeting with the high school tomorrow about their data, and getting kind of a more solid plan as far as that goes. Because they take the PSAT and the SAT, so their data looks a little different.
When do they take that?
They take the PSAT and the SAT in the fall. That's unofficial data, so we're not held to that data. We use that just for progress monitoring. And then the SAT school day we take in the spring, and that's the one in 11th grade that the state looks at. That's how they're kind
When
of
is that coming up?
April 4th. And then PSAT we've chosen to take to get more data on students, but it's not required. So that's 9th and 10th grade, and I believe it's April 6th. I don't
Okay.
have my calendar. It's in April for
Okay.
sure.
When you get that, can you come back and share it with us?
Sure.
Yeah.
Sure. They get that data a little faster. It's through College Board, so, but we're meeting tomorrow morning to talk about discipline, attendance, and their data as far as the fall goes, so.
Thank you very much,
Thank
Ms.
you.
Shortridge.
Thank you.
I
Good
just
job.
wanna tell you
Thank you, Joni. I
you all
appreciate
have,
what you're doing.
Just real
Thank
quick,
you.
Dave, I was just gonna point out, this is a testament to the staff, obviously, but the way they've got the kids and the parents to buy into this is really impressive to me. I hear it all the time. As recently, I think as last week, my first grader come home, telling me about her iReady score. So if you get the kids and the parents to buy in the way that you all do, that's more than just a props to the staff. That's great.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah, I usually get a text, is this bad or good? As soon as she gets her score, so. All right, thank you, guys.
Thank you.
Thank you. All right, brings us down to item 4, approved minutes of the
So
February
moved.
18 and February 25 meeting. Wilson makes the motion,
I'll second.
Cartwright seconds. All in favor of approval, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? And it's 5-0. I should say that Mr. Robert Mosteller is on the phone with us. He's attending virtually here. So it's a 5-0 vote. Brings us to administrative items. Any discussion?
Will we get copies of those revised policies prior to voting for them?
I'm sorry, but you say that again.
Would we, on number 5, the revise the following policies?
Copies of the policies?
Yes, we're going to have someone
I
to
think they're in your
revise them.
folder.
They're in your folder.
Okay, I
They're in your folder.
didn't look on, thank you.
Now, these are going on public review. Is that what they're doing? We're
These are the ones
revising
that-
them.
They're coming off their
They're
30.
coming off?
Yeah.
Okay, so we're now approving these?
Correct.
Okay.
And then,
Yeah, these, you probably had these several weeks ago, 30
Yeah.
days ago.
Okay,
And,
we got item F on here, that's that, schedule a work session to discuss and review athletics countywide.
We're gonna, Mr. Barnett's gonna schedule that after Thursday's meeting, and we're gonna determine when everybody's available.
So we're gonna table this again?
I'm sorry?
Are we gonna table item F again?
No, well,
discuss it anyway.
I think it's a separate work session, is it not?
Yes.
That what we're talking about?
Separate.
So we're
from
gonna-
Thursday, yeah.
It's not table it, we're just gonna approve to have that, Mr. Barnett's going to do it
Then
for
we'll
us.
schedule it after.
We're gonna vote, we're gonna approve to have it and you'll schedule it.
Correct.
Yeah.
But we'll discuss that scheduling
Yes,
time.
yes, we'll
Okay.
be in work session for that.
I'd move to approve administrative items.
Mr. Cartwright, motion for approval of administrative items.
I'll second.
Wilson seconds. All in favor of approval, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? And it's 5-0. Brings us to the finance section. Any discussion?
Motion to approve finance.
Wilson makes a motion to approve finance.
I'll second that.
Burns seconds. All in favor of approval, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? And it's 5-0. Brings us to the personnel section. That's the blue sheet.
Make a motion to approve personnel.
And we have a motion to approve personnel by Cartwright,
Second,
second by,
Mosteller.
who second?
Mosteller.
Mosteller, second. All in favor of approval, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? And brings us to the superintendent's update.
Update here, if you draw your attention here, we just approved it, but just to give you a little bit of idea on the embedded credit that we talked about here with career and tech ed programs, you all have a copy of that. And some of these students who are looking at going into the career mode straight out of high school with their CTE program, they can actually get an additional credit in their high school. I'll just give you one example. Automotive technology, once they're a completer, they can earn it. They can also get a transition math credit for seniors. So that helps them too in their scheduling, being able to take more electives and broaden their horizons a little bit. So that was what that meant in there in terms of those amended credits. The
Now,
other,
before you move on from amended credit,
embedded credit,
embedded, okay, now does that give them dual credit?
no.
It just gives them the one credit, but.
They can, no, it's 2 credits. They'll get a credit for automotive technology. But it's not
math.
it's not a college credit.
Okay, right, it's a
2
high school credits, okay.
Yeah. All right, honestly, I haven't been up to Duval this week to check it out, but they've been sending me pictures. We've got block about 5 high now, all around the gym. And the pillars are there, so barring any kind of natural disasters that we've had over the past month and a half, we ought to be able to start seeing steel move soon. And that's all I have.
Okay, brings us to item 9, employee discipline. The superintendent has asked for an executive session to discuss an employee matter. Do I have a motion?
I'll make that motion.
Burns makes the motion, Wilson seconds. Time is 6:25. All in favor of executive session, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? And it's 5-0. We will adjourn into executive session. I called this meeting back to order. We've had a motion from Wilson, second by Burns, at 6:32 PM to return to regular session. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? And it's 5-0. Do I have a motion and a second to ratify the previously imposed 10-day suspension, February 19 through March 4, without pay of a service employee?
So moved.
Cartwright makes the motion,
Second.
Wilson seconds. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? And the employee's name is,
Amber Browning.
I'm sorry,
Amber Brown.
Amber Browning. All right. I have a motion and a second to approve the superintendent's recommendation to terminate the probationary contract of a service employee effective March 5th, 2025.
So moved.
Wilson makes the motion.
I'll second.
Cartwright seconds. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
And any opposed? None? Unanimous. And the employee's name again is
Amber Brown.
Amber Browning. All right, that brings us to adjournment until March 6th, that's this coming Thursday, for a 4:00 PM work session at the central office here in Hamlin. Do I have a motion to second to adjourn?
I'll make that motion.
Make a motion, we adjourn.
I'll second.
Mosteller makes the motion, Burns seconds, the time is 6:34. All in favor of adjournment, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? And we are adjourned.